I like ice cream.
I don't like ice cream.
My dad says I like ice cream a lot and I should stop. But I told him that I saw a video of Joe Biden who likes ice cream too, and henceforth.
Are you serious? You Joe Biden
Yeah.
decides if you stop eating ice cream or not?
I said that because the former vice president of the USA likes ice cream, then I am allowed to have ice cream as well.
Oh wow! I don't think Joe
I think
Biden.
he was trying to ice cream shame me. He's like, you're a man. Why are you eating so much ice cream?
Okay, fair.
But let me not get into my dad issues.
Yeah. I don't think Joe Biden should be deciding if should be eating ice cream or not. But anyway,
I don't think Joe Biden should be deciding anything, but it's not my place to say.
let's not say that. We'll piss off a lot of people.
This is a business podcast, not a political.
Yeah.
Not a political.
Anyway, everybody, welcome to the podcast. This is Neo Pros, our first episode. My name is Ian Jiguna. That is Gitari.
What's up? What's up?
And this right here is Kiiru Muhoya.
This is our guest for today, and this man is going to take us through looking at foreign investment and getting big bills into your business. So listen to what he has to say. He has got a lot of good content to bring you.
Yeah, it's going to help you figure out how to woo those investors so that they give you their money, which we all want. We all want to be given money
That's
to
it.
do stuff.
Money's great. Yeah.
Money is dope,
Yeah.
Especially and money that wasn't yours.
Yeah.
you know,
with as little expectation as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the best one.
if you could do it. So a few facts on funding in Africa, just real quick. Last year, there were 311 companies that secured a total of $591 million.
This is just
in
startups.
funding. This is just startups.
This is not even-
This is strictly startups.
Okay.
And Kenya and Nigeria were the biggest hubs, gaining $149 million for Kenya and $122 million for Nigeria. That's like half of the pot
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah.
between Kenya and Nigeria. You know, punching above our weight. Total investors were around 261 in the region. And the top sector was fintech with 21% of funding.
That's lit, and there's
Big
a reason
numbers.
for that. There's a reason for that.
Okay, enlighten us.
There's a reason for that. You know, actually, I wanted to start off by first looking at not like the companies and not even the investors themselves, but the investors of those investors. Because when a venture capitalist or an early stage startup fund, when they invest in a firm, they're literally taking money from somewhere else and putting it in your firm, right? And so if you look at this types of investment vehicles, this types of venture capitalists, a lot of the ways they get their funds is from, you know, a group of people called LPs who basically just, you know, they're really, really like old institutional investors that have had money for a really long time and don't have a way to put this money into new exciting startups. So me as an aspiring fund manager come in and be like, hey, I can help you invest in this exciting early stage startups with minimal risk because I am an expert in this field. So they do that, and it takes a while. It takes a while to get all this, you know, old money into a fund that can be invested in startups, maybe like 3 years even. So I'm a fund manager. I've done 3 years, like, you know, they call it a roadshow. I've gotten money from across the world and now have my fund. I say Africa is an exciting place to set up. I set up in one of the major hubs, either Nigeria, South Africa, or Kenya, as you mentioned. And I'm like, all right, now let me invest in startups. So after that entire process, the way they invest in startups is they just want winners. They can't afford losers. They want winners. This is vis-a-vis, you know, the process in, like, you know, a Western country like, you know, the UK or America. Like, they won't take 3 years to raise a fund. They'll take like a couple of months.
Yeah.
And there'll be more risk. Like, their appetite for risk will be much higher. Exactly.
Yeah.
So they'll want to, you know, they'll invest in like 10 and they'll be like, if only one wins, that's great.
That's good
But if you're
enough.
coming here, you're like, I'm investing in 10 and 11 have to win. Because it's that hard. It's that hard. So that really, really lowers the amount of people that are actually getting it. And yeah, we can move on to who actually gets this investment.
Who
and
are the
why.
winners?
Who are the winners?
What? I think the question is, how do you make yourself a winner? If I was an entrepreneur who just started a business, what are the key factors I'm looking for to get, you know, this funding?
So I'd say there's a textbook way of being a winner, and there's like an unorthodox way. So the textbook way is, I would say, the hardest way, because one, there's no literal textbook you can buy.
That
to
is
study.
true.
Yeah.
But there is a textbook. Everyone in the industry knows there's a textbook, but you don't know where to find it. You don't know how to study it, and once you can't find it, you're effectively locked out. And let's go to the people that do find it. If you find the textbook, I mean, hey, I've seen the textbook. I've seen the textbook. Let me not lie. I've seen the textbook. If you see the textbook, you'll realize that there's you have chapter 1, chapter 2, like there's an intro, there's certain things, and some of these specific things are just things that really really entrepreneurial people, and I'd say entrepreneurial in the sense that people that just want to build things and make solutions for problems, those people won't have access to this. The people that will are like the ex finance, the ex consulting, the ex business people. They will have access to this textbook, and then they will need to partner with someone entrepreneurial to make this happen. So let's say chapter 1 would be what's the foundation of your idea? Can you do accurate market assessment? Can you give us your addressable market in language? Like there's a specific language like that people want to hear. What's your TAM? What's your SAM? What are your financial models looking like? If you're a software as a service company, what's your ARR, or how much monthly revenue are you giving us? So I mean, there's a really textbook way. Like if I see like these numbers in front of me in such a textbook way, you're getting the money, full stop. But there's also, as we all know, there's also like a type of person that usually gets the funds vis-a-vis another type of person. Okay. So this type of person, I mean, in Africa, we know the landscape is dominated by foreign experts in certain fields. We know that the local ecosystem hasn't quite been as local as it should be. Yeah. And you guys, you know this.
We know this.
Look at the top the companies you mentioned. If you look at the top 10 most funded one, you'll find that they're not super local. I personally don't have an issue with that, but it also kind of just gives you the idea that there is a textbook.
Yes.
And
okay.
those
people have it.
Those people have it, and others don't.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could go on about how this entire industry needs to be reformed, but that's not the point.
That's for another day.
That's another day. Yeah.
So you are of the opinion that it does need to be reformed. Like
no, absolutely.
The people that are getting the money now shouldn't be the only ones getting the money from this funding.
No, absolutely. I think if you have a great solution, get the money, right? Yeah. But if you have a great solution and you have this textbook, that's when you get the money.
Okay.
And oftentimes these people won't have the best solutions. You'll find the best solutions elsewhere. And it's hard to think about, but the alternative is, who should get the money? Should we give the money to people that don't have this this textbook, this solution base? Should we give the money to people that just have great ideas? Like it's a tough question. I'm not entirely 1,000% sure what the answer is, but my personal opinion, I genuinely think that everyone should have at least enough funding for proof of concept. I think that's what I feel. I think that's the most empowering thing, because I'm looking at it. Africa's median age in most countries is about 19, and a lot of those people they will need to be job creators rather than people going to the labor market, because the labor market scarcely exists, and during COVID it is shrinking. Yeah. So these people need they need the capital, at least enough for them to get ideas out there that are quite plausibly changing the continent. So that's my personal opinion.
So basically where we're at is, what you're saying is, there's people that are getting funding because they've ticked all the boxes.
Yeah.
But people can't get into the door because we need funding for even before, just to tick the boxes.
Yeah, they don't know how to
get
create
the
the box to get ticked.
Exactly.
So when you write your textbook, 10%.
I got you.
No, actually, I think that discussion is a really important one that we should be having more openly with people, on teaching the brilliant minds that we have around us, just giving them the simple steps. Because we've seen the textbook, because we've engaged with you and other people, and it's not that it's difficult or complicated, it's just getting that information out there.
Yeah.
So what was the other way?
So another part of this textbook that people don't realize is that innovation is great. Like a lot of people can be innovating, but there's also the articulation of that innovation, and the people that come to do that to you are really, you have, okay, if you look at the breakdown of a transaction, right?
Yeah.
You have, an innovative idea. Look at the ones we've seen around the world, the Ubers, the Airbnbs, like this really, really big tech companies that have started, just from nothing and exploded, right? So if you look at how they've grown, you'll see that inside every single step you've had, a really elite investment bank, a really elite law firm, a really elite transaction advisor. You've just had an elite ecosystem of people that have come to support this one product, and all of them become winners in the end, right? So in this country, in Kenya and in a lot of African countries, that ecosystem, it doesn't exist. Like, you don't have, like, today in Nairobi, I can scarcely go to any law firm that particularly that thrives and the bread and butter is helping advising startups. I won't go to any bank who's like, we're gonna we have a division to advise startups. Like, there's an ecosystem that is just missing. And if you look at where this ecosystem is, it's in places that are really legacy, like real estate. Like, you'll have real estate lawyers, like you'll have banking lawyers, like you'll have legacy institutions that this ecosystem is focused on. But here, the ecosystem, like, it's so like nascent, it's very new, so that even though you're an innovator, even though you have this textbook, you need that step further to get this elite ecosystem around you to actually make this work. And so that ecosystem is actually missing at this point. And a lot of the innovation people are looking at now is, can we migrate this ecosystem into like an online platform? Like, like crowdfunding is one of these things that has really helped. Like, instead of, you going through lawyers and you going through investment banks and transaction advisors, you can just, put yourself up on a crowdfunding platform and, hopefully receive the investment that you can. But I don't know how much it's taken off here. It's taken off elsewhere, but I'm not sure how far it's taken off here.
So what you're saying is another very key thing when you're looking for funding is having a team. A team of experts that can, as an entrepreneur, can guide your vision. And then for now the lawyers and the financial advisors, it's now your prerogative, I would say, to start trying to look into building these legacies and finding these entrepreneurs now. To create
1,000%. In fact, I think that's probably the most important step. Like, the entrepreneurs, I have no doubt, like from what I've seen, like in my really short experience in the field, is that the entrepreneurs are there. They are there, hustling, bustling. There's a ton of them with a ton of great ideas, but the ecosystem, like, it doesn't exist for them yet. And it's up to the people that have been through these institutions, these firms, to come and create this ecosystem for these entrepreneurs. Even things like accelerators, like even things like just like startup funding contests, like all these are little things that are coming to start helping bridge that ecosystem gap. But there's still a long way to go. But that's one of the challenges.
Then if we're talking about entrepreneurs finding teams, can we be more specific? Because let's assume I'm James. I'm the average.
Jimo.
I'm the average African male or Kenyan male. Let's say I have an amazing idea, right?
Okay.
I have an amazing idea. Perfect. And I don't have a team yet. Maybe I'm working on it with my friend. So me and my friend are the ones working on this idea. Then what's the next step where we have like this great idea, this sort of pitch-like idea? What's the first thing we do? Do we create something, sort of release it to the market and make it...
do an MVP.
Do like a very
small
MVP. Because
like
we can't afford... we
like
can't afford to
test.
do like a proper MVP. So like something small and then go look for a bigger team and like advisors and stuff. Or do we go straight to the advisors and then the advisors?
So what's the most likely path of success, do you think? And then what are the other options?
So this is also like based on your personality, right? It's not that like there's no one shoe fits all. But you have to understand that there's one route that's textbook, quote unquote,
Yeah.
and there's another that's not.
Yeah.
And so if you started out with a small team, like really, like let's just say like you're starting from scratch, writing, every line of code. You're on the streets, like trying to market this little MVP that you have. At that point in time, what you're looking for is whether this idea works. Like in the smallest sense, does this idea work,
you're looking
right?
for validation.
Exactly. So once you've found this, this really, really minute validation,
Yeah.
it can work. You can see like a future for it. So what you need to do now is you actually you need to now tap into this ecosystem with your idea. And there are challenges to that, because when we look at traditional investors, this is where the angel comes in. This is where the angel comes in. The angel comes in because he doesn't see like a really fast thriving business. He sees promise in you as an entrepreneur and the other person or the other few people that are on your team. This is where the angel comes in. So the angel comes in because he knows that you're having challenges reaching the ecosystem. He knows you can't go like a series A or B, so he goes straight to angel investing. And he says, I believe in you. I think you have what it takes. And he holds your hand and he says, he doesn't need the due diligence documents. He doesn't need the letter of incorporation. He doesn't need your financial models. He just needs to know you will work on this once you have the money. So I think the first step after that is you need to find an angel. Find an angel. It could be friends, family. It could be, someone, you've had a chance meeting with that you've elevator pitched. But the angel, I'd say, would be the first step there.
Okay. Then on that note, in regards to after you found the angel and everything, let's say you've sort of got into MVP stage. Right? And then we all know past MVP stage, after you've proved something like the concept in the market, you go to the seed. And then from the seed, you have to go, let's say, bigger numbers. You're talking like above $100,000 and up. That's usually what most seeds start at. And recently, a lot of companies have been getting like seeds of $1 million because of the scale. So when you're now going to this investors, not to the proper VCs who have this big money that are writing this big checks.
2 seconds. Do you want to explain what VCs are, just for anybody who doesn't know yet?
Oh, so VCs, venture capitalists. I think he can explain better than me because he is essentially a venture capitalist at this point. Or you advise.
Pseudo.
I've seen the textbook. So venture capitalists are, I would call them a group of people that have money to invest into new and fast-growing companies and startups. So venture capitalists, like I said, they start off by collecting like legacy funds usually, and then they're a team they're a small team of really experienced professionals, and their mandate, like what they need to do to survive, because their business is finding opportunities in markets that are just exciting. They have to invest in companies that are early stage or growing so that they get a multiple return on their investment. So they are just as, I would call them any other investors, except what they're investing in is new companies. So their processes of investing are different. They look at different metrics versus companies. So you'd have, for example, an early stage venture capitalist fund that only invests in agri-tech, one that only invests in fintech, or one that only invests in edtech. So like each of them has very specific mandates, and they then look for opportunities within those fields. So it's essentially investors that look at early stage to fast growing startups.
Okay, so then the question would be, MVP stage done. Now I'm looking for seed funding. Right. Where do I go? Do I just type in Google VC people in Nairobi, call up each office, tell them I have this great idea, can I set up a meeting? Do I email people? Do I look for people on LinkedIn?
Do a LinkedIn raid? Do
we raid offices? Do we just show up?
Do we just do the walk-in? Give me your money.
Kick down doors. Honestly,
this is my idea. Now give me your money.
I'm not opposed to that view. I think you kick down some doors, but hey, you do that at your own risk. That can be your strategy. I don't know how successful it's gonna be. It's gonna be a roll of the dice. But what I would do is I would find the intermediary, the transaction advisor.
Okay, so who is a transaction advisor? Who's that?
So I mean, you have firms that kind of, if you look at the ecosystem, right? If you look at the funding ecosystem, you'll find that everyone is connected in one way, form, shape, or the other, right?
Yeah.
So a transactional advisor could be one person who's, worked at an analyst or like a manager at one VC and has worked at one startup, or has worked at, someone who's been part of the ecosystem that's connected. So, for example, I personally, this is my strategy. What I would do is I would go to one of the most well-funded, I'd look who's really well-funded in my startup community. I'd see it's like maybe Bolt, or I'd see it's maybe, a fintech. I'd just find out who it is. Whether it's in logistics, you've heard of Sendy, you've heard of like all these really, fast-growing companies,
yeah.
right? So I'd find them, and then I'd just go to the CFO. I'd go to the CFO.
What is CFO? Who is the CFO?
I don't know who the CFO is, but I know they have a CFO.
No, what does CFO?
Oh, sorry.
The acronym.
CFO, Chief Financial Officer.
Yeah. Chief Financial Officer. I thought you were asking me the literal name. Of
No.
I don't know. I don't
Like,
Yeah,
no,
so-
I'm not asking.
You don't know,
Who's the
or you
CFO?
can't
I'm
tell
like-
us.
don't know. So yeah, I would find the CFO, because that CFO, you'd find that they're not gonna have been at the company for very long, because it's a startup.
Yeah.
And you'd find that the only reason that CFO of that company is because they did the exact same thing for another company, meaning that they have seen like the eyes and the souls of investors across, the entire ecosystem. And honestly, I say ecosystem, but it's actually not that large. You'll find like maybe 15 to 20 really active funds like in this space.
Yeah. Okay.
Only. Like very active. So you'll find that, if you meet one of the CFOs, that we call them portfolio companies, one of those portfolio companies that have been invested in by these funds, this CFO will have they won't have just asked one, they'll have talked to like all 15 of them, gotten investment from like 2.
Yeah.
So I would go straight to the CFO, maybe a couple of CFOs. I'd find 3 startups, go to each of those 3 CFOs, tell them about my idea, providing it's not conflicting directly with their companies, right?
Course.
And then that's when you get your insider information, because this person has not only raised this money from like successfully raised, they know what they needed to do to meet each and every criteria of every single VC that they're approaching. So I'd go to them first, validation. I have an idea. I've done an angel. What do you think I can do better? And the CFO will just tell you. They look at your models and say, you don't have this, you need this. This person will ask you for this. Some investors will be like, give me a 10-year, plan. Some will be like, okay, what's your 3-year, but in this much detail. So like you will get at that point really insider information. Going directly to VCs, like a lot of them, especially here, they do not take unsolicited proposals.
Yeah.
Meaning like it's a network. They have to be part of a network, and the network kind of filters the ideas that they receive.
It'll feed the
Okay.
it feeds them
So
the
like
ideas.
you will never find a VC saying open to applications, apply for $1 million years. Like you will never find that. You'll find that it's always network driven. So you go find the CFO of one of these firms. I would say, I say CFO, not CEO, because the CFO does a lot of the technical.
Yeah, that's true.
Financial.
Yeah, exactly. He does he does the technical aspects of the transaction.
Yeah.
Find the CFO, validate with them, and then get them to make the introductions for you. Because
so that you're going through the system.
Exactly, you're going through the system. Honestly, if you just like, it's like, for example, getting a job. Like you can flung your CV at every single door, but like, if somebody,
Introduces
if someone part of that network introduces you,
Yeah.
and they're credible, then you have a much better chance.
Yeah.
So I would say, knock down the doors of those CFOs.
So you need to be able to have good networking skills as well to be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
From your experience, a CFO is very helpful, very open to helping. So you go to a CFO and they're like, "I'll gladly help you." Are they most of them like, yeah?
I think you have to look at people in the finance field as just people looking to make more capital.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you give them a chance to make more capital,
Okay.
like,
So you're going and offering
yeah,
something.
so
you're
you're
not just
going-
asking for help.
Exactly, because
Pro bono.
Exactly,
There
'cause
has to be value, exchange of
there
value.
has to be an exchange of value. Because
Okay.
even if that CFO introduces, this potential, unicorn startup to a fund, like that's their name that they're enhancing. That's their field that they're, being recognized for. So I think this is when your idea comes into play.
Okay.
Because you meet a CFO that will be like, excellent idea, how is it gonna make money? And you can answer that question, then it's not that valuable to them. But sometimes they'll be like, this is a fantastic idea. Say less. Come meet my
Yeah.
come meet the homies. So
Let's get you into the system.
Yeah.
We start working things out.
exactly. And as an entrepreneur, like your main skill past the startup stage is going to be an ambassador role. You're
Yeah.
going to be your company's ambassador
Correct.
to all these funders. Like you're gonna be your company's ambassador to your customers. Like you'll
You're the
step
face,
out
yeah.
exactly. You step out of your building and technical role into like I am the face of this interactions. Yeah.
Well, speaking of value, we have a sponsor today.
Ooh, who is our sponsor?
Yeah, this new podcast, Neo Pros, is brought to you by absolutely no one. We have no sponsor. Well, we
be like,
have
I
a
didn't
sponsor
get nothing,
on the
girl.
very first episode. Though we are looking for sponsors. If you're a startup that's looking to get your name out there, we'll take 100 shillings and a pack of mints.
We'll shout
Hit
you
us
out.
up.
Send to us.
Our socials will be at the end of the podcast, so
Yeah.
make sure you listen all the way through, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
And shoot us an email. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can, and
Yeah.
let's start a partnership.
Yeah,
Get this money.
get this money. That's all we need. 100 and a pack of mints.
Pack ads.
I'm 100% serious, by the way. We'll just be doing that. If you're a startup and you want to, get your name out there
Yeah.
on a podcast that probably has like 10 views right now,
Growing fast.
why not?
That's great. We're a startup.
Yeah, we're a startup as well, so
We're
we
a
get
startup.
you.
Yeah. So we're coming up with all of us. Like, let's all get into this system together and do it.
All right. So now let's get into a bit of the harder topics.
Okay.
The topics that people don't talk about because everyone's like, yeah, you can get funding and you should chase your dreams and ambitions, and the product that you come up with
You can do it.
is amazing.
You can
right?
do it.
But the reality is there's a lot of competition. So you, who's also been, going through a lot of startup applications for funding, have you seen many similar, business models? Similar, sort of like in the similar space, but they all think that they're the one.
Yeah.
And who in those many people is the one that actually wins?
Yeah. What is the differentiating
Exactly.
factors? of
Because
that?
you can have an idea and think it's the only one, but then you guys obviously review like hundreds to
Yeah.
thousands of CVs a year.
Yeah.
And I mean, not CVs, but
Pitched.
Yeah.
pitches. And I'm sure most of them come out sort of the same.
Yeah.
So who is the one that wins out of that 100 or 1,000?
I would say so. The winner in my book, other people have different criteria, but the winner in my book is gonna be the one who has made the most of what they've had with the least investment.
So the one that executed.
Yeah, the one that executed you look at things, the eye-catching things, right? For example, the most eye-catching things will be like this person received maybe 10,000 Kenyan shillings in investment only, but was able to scale their business and attain maybe 100 to 10,000 customers, right? And even though they're not paying, even though they're just on their platform, they think the platform is useful. So that person, you look at that person and you think, but what could you do if you had $1 million USD? What could you do if you had 100,000
What market
USD?
share could you capture?
Exactly. What could you do if you had that? So that person, that hustle person, that's the one that wins in my book. And the other categories of winners, obviously, that's a traction based kind of analysis I've given. But obviously there's a team. The team element is so strong. Like just the track record of the team, what they've done, who they are, the ability to just the ability. Like, can you believe in their ability? So my book would say I would first start with those two, so traction and team. So if you have a strong team and great traction, but you're only missing funding, then
You're on the
that's
right path.
fantastic.
Yeah, you're on a
but
very
like
good
if
path.
if you're missing other things, like if you're missing the team, you're missing a strong even advisory board, you're missing a strong enough team that can carry this forward, because you have to think about it. When people are investing, like you're investing for like the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Like
that's
I
true.
will be your partner with you for the next 10 years. I'm not gonna invest in it that I don't remotely believe in.
None of you have even had a girlfriend for 10 years.
No, it's fact. It's fact. It's a
true.
deep.
It's a
I think
serious-
it's a
yeah.
deep relationship.
Yeah, it's very
Like,
serious.
it's a deep relationship. Like I will be your partner in this in a long time. So that's a key factor. One of the two key factors. And then traction. Traction is just like how does the market treat your product? Like does the market like accept it? Does it reject it? And if it's been rejected, have you taken that information and made adequate changes in that it can be, you can have a quote unquote product market fit for the market and for the clients you're trying to serve. So I think that aspect is, I would say those two are the most critical for me. And you also want to look at VCs as, they're trying to get onto the next unicorn.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they'll say moderate returns, we just want 2x,
Yeah,
we just want to multiply your revenue by a little bit. No, they want the next unicorn. So if you show them that you're able to achieve, this huge milestone with such little, you only had your grit about you and you did it, then they'll throw money at you. But yeah, other than that, obviously there are other ways, but those are the two ways I think.
Okay.
The factors I think are important.
Would you can you like break down the team aspect? What do you think are the key, like when you have your team, these are the mandatory things. I mean, there's other things that you can have which would be nice to have and help you, but mandatory, you need these people in your team.
Well, if we're talking strictly about startups,
Yeah.
if we're talking about startups, I'd say trust, people that are trustworthy. So you can like immediately people look you up. They see, obviously there's a textbook type of person. So for example, you have an education to a certain level. You have competency in a certain area, whether it's finance, whether it's tech, whether it's marketing. You have competency in the area that you're trying to get into, and that competency has been validated. Maybe you worked at a good consultancy or a good marketing firm or a good tech firm. Like it's been validated, and now you have a level of expertise that people think you can lead. You're not making simple or silly mistakes that people who don't know this industry would make, right? So that team aspect needs to be like, you need to have a track record of some sort. And even if you don't, because a lot of young people do not, you have to demonstrate that you know what you're talking about, that you know the market, you've listened to it, you have your ear to the ground. Because I mean, it's very easy to just look up numbers and start a business. Like, oh, there's a market gap. I guess the market for, financial services, underbanked population, the market for, insurance, the market for savings. Like, it's very easy to just look at it and then be like, yeah,
there's
my
a
business
gap
does
here,
this.
I have a solution.
My business does this. But the people that demonstrate the knowledge are the people that will be like, this product fits this gap because of this factors. And that's what a lot of people would call the secret. You found the secret. Like there's like hidden information in markets that people don't know, and no matter where you're from, you've come and you've found the secret.
Correct.
And you're presenting that your product built upon this secret can be successful. So find the secret and show a competency based approach, and I think that's enough. That should be enough.
So
Awesome.
then when it comes to teams, because we talk about having strong teams, but then people are in a startup phase. So let's say you just came out of university, just you and your homies came out of university, you're starting this company. So you're not really a strong team.
Yeah.
You are university graduates, but you believe that this is a great product, and maybe it is a great product. Maybe you've done an MVP and the MVP is sort of doing well. So how can I bolster my team with no money? So where do I go? Can I add people to like the board, the advisory board?
Who do I look for to get me into the system? Maybe somebody who already knows the textbook, or how do I bring that expertise that I lack that can put the energy, that entrepreneurial energy that we have so much of? How do I get people on that team that can just direct it?
No, you're right. That is a big point. So getting an advisory board is, I'd say, the most important thing. Okay. And how do you get like a really elite advisory board? Just one, you give them a portion, like even if it's 1% or 0.5% of your company, just tell them, I don't have money now, but I have equity. So if you advise us for like, even if it's just, an hour a month or like
once a week
or 30 minutes every week, just that's all we need of your time. We'll give you 1% of our company. We think we're going places, right? And I mean, the most valuable thing to people that are are really experienced people, like 15 plus years experience, industry experts, the most valuable thing for them is time. So you have to show them why their time would be worth it. So you're not just, your first sell is, can I sell this to an advisory board member? Like I really, like, don't even go for like, a top 100, go for the top 10, like go for the top 10 people that
In
you
that- in
want
that
in that
industry.
industry, right?
Yeah.
And then you sell them, without you. I mean, to some extent, you're selling dreams at this point.
Yeah.
You're selling dreams. You have nothing
I'll give you the
other than
world.
intellectual property, and in your intellectual property, like it's not going to be backed by any
Anything.
institution. It's a dream right now.
Yeah.
You're selling them a dream, and you make them believe that dream, and you make them think that without you this dream is not possible. And then they come on board, they lend you the expertise, and then you have a couple of people on board from that from those industry experts, and you have instantly created credibility for yourself. Instantly accessed the ecosystem like no other way. So the problem is now finding these people and making sure that you're also a good fit for them. Because again, it's also a personal relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
So you
There's a
finding
lot
these
of
people,
personal
I think there
aspect.
are a lot of these people out there, but they're hidden in like
Yeah, it's
enclaves.
difficult to find.
Like there's so many good people out there that are willing to help young people. Like they're not like shouting at the top of their voices. You have to find them. You have to be able to approach them and tell them, convince them that your dream is worth them being part of it. So yeah, I think that's the step.
All right, that's great. Then let's move into the topic of women. Shout out to all the women out there, the women founders out there. We respect you. All.
Love
you. By the way, women
Making all this money, bro.
women entrepreneurs
Are getting it.
are so good.
No,
at
they're
what
actually,
they do.
bro,
It's
they're getting it.
That's true.
And it's mad. I
That's
love
crazy.
it.
But them being so good doesn't change the fact that in some sub-Saharan Africa, only 37% of women have a bank account compared with 48% of men. That's a gap of around 10%. A gap that has only widened over the past several years, and this is according to CNN, which is, according to Donald Trump, fake news. But
Fake news.
We'll take it because it's the only reference we have. And the figures are worse in North Africa, where about 2/3 of the adult population remains unbanked, and the gender gap to access to finance is 18%. And the reason they said that the access to finance is so big is because apparently in sub-Saharan Africa, the women and the ladies that may have business ideas and want to take up these business ideas are not so comfortable with the risk of taking out these massive loans,
yeah.
like the same way the men are.
Yeah.
So they don't take that what we like the risk. We call it a risk, but I feel like men are just we're very
And that's the thing with society and the way we've set things up.
Exactly.
It's you think, okay, the guy is supposed to go and do that.
Exactly. So there's a whole lot of mental barrier, as opposed not just mental barrier.
And
I'm saying
social.
mental barrier, social barriers,
Yeah.
and everything in between that sort of stops women from getting this funding. However, at the same time, we have raving reviews from almost every VC fund that I can think of that has put out a statement on their women entrepreneurs, and they say
Yes.
women entrepreneurs outperform men by 70%. Like
Yeah,
I think
it's
it
actually
was
quite high.
of the women entrepreneurs that were invested in, 70% gave an actual return compared to, I think it was 40% of the men. That is almost more than half
That's more than half
of
yeah.
what the men are doing. And maybe it might be because there's more men being invested in
Yes.
as well.
Yeah,
and the women that are getting
proportion.
invested in at, the top.
Top, yeah.
But still it shows that women can produce results if you give them the chance. So the question is, from your experience, because you've gone through a lot of these pitches and stuff and consulted for a lot of these firms, how many women pitches do you see come through, and how many of them do you get through on their merits, do you think?
So the issue of funding women is a big one because, as you mentioned, they just don't get enough funding. And in fact, I would say as a subset of people that don't get funding, women are, one of the tops of that subset, right? And one of the reasons that, one of the solutions to this is it's so simple. It's just forming funds that are only meant to invest in women. Like
So,
there's
yeah.
no other solution, because you have people that think in a certain legacy.
Yes.
Like their legacy is, we want, like a type A, from, this background that
Yeah,
is,
who went to this
who's
school.
often going to be a man
Yeah.
and who's often going to, be it's a horse you're betting on.
The textbook. So
Exactly,
the same,
exactly.
same thing
It's a horse you're betting. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just it's also cultural, it's institutional, it's anthropological. Like there are so many issues around it, and it's the same thing that happened in politics in our country. People realize that women are actually not going to be voted into seats of power because one, they're discouraged from running, like from a very young age.
yeah.
They only see political leaders that are men, so they're already discouraged from running. And when you're trying to encourage them for running, the barriers to running for them are so much higher than they are for men. So what did our government do? What did governments start doing? They started imposing a third rule. So a third of seats in parliament and other places were reserved for women, like the gender rule. So affirmative action was created, meaning that women just, like, it was not optional for them to have a place. They must, like,
have that,
it was
until it becomes,
that they
until
had
it
to
becomes
have
a
place,
regular
right?
thing.
Exactly.
You
So
have to enforce something.
precisely. So in the funding landscape, like, you need, the only solution I see that's gonna work is that you need funds that we were formed, like we raised our funds with the intention to only invest in women entrepreneurs. And no doubt they're successful. No doubt they are, outperforming men in a lot of regards. No doubt about that. But, can they get the money? Can they get the backing? It's about forming an institution that, it's so mandate is just, let's invest in women entrepreneurs. And I mean, I don't know how many there are. There are probably like one or a few in the entire continent that do just that. But honestly, there needs to be more. There needs to be a reward for women entrepreneurs. So far, the reward system is not there. It's there for male entrepreneurs, but for women entrepreneurs, there needs to be a reward system in place. And I mean, it's again starting at the institutional level. Can we have institutions that do this? Can we have, and the people that actually do this, you'll find that there will be women. There will be women that have seen maybe
women who've been in the system.
Exactly. And they thought, maybe I was a founder, I found it really hard to get funding, but now I will not let other young founders coming up find it this hard, so I'll form my own fund. So it needs to come, like, ecosystem needs to just expand like that. And you're right, you have a lot of firms that are like, oh, our policy on women, our policy on like this group and this group, but like, will it actually translate to anything?
Exactly.
If there's no affirmative action.
Yeah, but if they say we've raised $100 million US dollar fund
solely to
exactly,
women.
but 80% of it or a proportion of it will only go to women founders. That matters. You're then increasing the the investment to their startups. You're then encouraging a market. That's the only thing that matters, especially in this field. So I think that's the only solution I see.
That's nice. Yeah.
I do respect the women that are coming up in the entrepreneurial space. Entrepreneurial space, guys. I'm African.
Hey,
let it be.
The language came on a boat.
It came on a boat and it left on a boat. It didn't stay here. It dipped.
We can use Swahili if you want.
People do say when I speak Swahili, I sound like a Mzungu trying to speak Swahili. So it doesn't really help. Speaking of women venture funds, there's a few. Actually, just typing into Google, there's a few funds that will pop up. Top 10 women funds in Kenya, Africa. I'm sure you can find specific to your country, and I'm sure they're all, looking for new upcoming women entrepreneurs. So now that we've gone through the basics of funding and the basics of how to build your team, how to get funding and whatnot, now I'd like to enter a fun little segment. This is towards the end of the show that we're going to call Speculation Zone. And this is where
Speculation Zone.
This is what we're going to talk about.
Soundbite, nice.
Yeah.
No, next time I'm gonna make sure I have
we need soundbites. We do need soundbites.
Just beep, 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 beep.
Please.
The DJ textbook, giving you all the internal secrets.
All of them. So what we're going to discuss is, I have a few companies in mind. We're going to talk about Jumia. Everyone knows what Jumia is in Africa. It's very wide on this continent. And Twiga Foods in Kenya.
Hey, Twiga Foods, the mandams.
We're going to discuss where we think these companies are going to end up, what we think their plan is for the next couple of years for them to be able to dominate the market, or if they're even planning to dominate the market. And what are your thoughts, both of you? Let's just start with Jumia. What are your thoughts on Jumia? I have very strong opinions on Jumia.
Yeah, I've actually gotten some recent news about Jumia, which is not like news. It's not old new news that they're pulling out of Tanzania, which makes sense. Doing foreign business in Tanzania is ridiculously difficult. I know many people who have tried and have failed spectacularly. But their investment in Kenya and in Nigeria is still going on strong. So from what I've seen, the direction is they're still going to keep burning money until they get the market share. But their COVID pivots, they've done very well. With their COVID pivot, they've really actually turned it around, and now they're getting more traction than I think they had before. So Jumia is really aiming to be the Amazon in Africa, and as AWS is coming and Jeff Bezos is probably going to bring Amazon this way, there might be some interesting deals coming up soon.
That's what we
That's what I think. That's just my speculation on the matter.
No, it's speculation though. Okay.
So speculation wise, I have problems with Jumia. I think first of all, credit to them. It's incredibly hard what they've achieved.
Oh, 100%.
Really hard, hard.
Man.
Someone has had headaches every day trying to build.
Every day
for
the
years.
past, like
Every day,
How-
intense headaches, migraines. I think about the logistical issues. I think about the onboarding, the e-commerce. Like it's ridiculous. Okay, so well done to them. But my problem isn't with Jumia per se. My problem is with e-commerce and like the type of investment that these people are making.
Okay.
So it's we've compared it to Amazon. Amazon, you copy pasted it from it's like a African Amazon. It's been called.
That's what it is.
So, but the environment that Jumia is working in is so different. Like it's so different. It's crazy, and maybe my imagination runs wild, but I think Jumia shouldn't have tried this Amazon approach in Africa because it can never work. One, for a simple reason as we don't have postcodes.
at all.
For
That's
just
true.
a simple reason as we don't have postcodes,
Yeah.
right? Like you literally cannot order something on your phone without having to call someone and direct them to your house for a couple of minutes, right? That's number one. Number two, the environment that they came into as an e-commerce platform, like the entire e-commerce realm, was just focused on such a small portion of the population. So for example, if I launch an e-commerce platform in the USA or the UK or another European or developed market, you'll find that my addressable market could be almost 80 to 90% of the working population. They can afford to just order something small, right? Here you have what
Maybe
I would say
10%.
in Kenya, I would
Yeah.
say what you have, let's say maybe 30 or 25 million working active people. And of that, how many are actually, middle class or people that have, enough income and disposable income to actually afford an e-commerce purchase. You'll find it's so ridiculously small. Like I can't even best estimate, I would say you're looking at about maybe 5 to 10% of the entire working population in the urban areas that you're looking at.
Only
who can
urban
afford
areas,
this,
yeah.
right? So the comparison, like the macroeconomic comparison between Amazon and Jumia, like they're just so
different.
impossible. Like you can't do it, right? So you have a company that has, started in Africa and they're only looking for a tiny portion of a market that, it didn't even exist as an e-commerce market
Before.
like 10 years ago, right? So, the issue with that is that you will never win to any extent that is like, Amazon significant.
Yeah, no, your market is not necessarily big enough.
Yeah, it's not big enough.
But I mean, the good thing with, and we can only focus on Jumia's e-commerce. We have to focus on the ecosystem of Jumia because they do food, they do travel, they were doing real estate. I'm not entirely sure about that.
I think they rebranded that. I don't know if they spun it off.
Yeah.
But
I mean, as an ecosystem, because the e-commerce thing, we know that they've been burning money for years now.
Yeah.
And
still burning money.
Yes.
Still burning money strong.
And I commend it.
Compare that to Twigger. Compare that to Twigger.
Just quickly on Jumia, just before we move to Trigger.
Yeah.
I do think over the recent years they realized it.
Yes.
Which is why I think they rushed to the NYSE to sort of exit.
Yeah.
I don't think they plan on, from what it seems, I don't think they want to become profitable. So recently, and I realized that Amazon actually vets every single vendor that comes on very
intensely.
diligently.
Yeah,
Like
actually
it's not just like a click a button, you sign up, you wait 48 hours, and then you're allowed to like post whatever product you have. Amazon has a very, very strong vetting process.
And that's so that they can copy your product and sell it themselves.
Yeah, but but neither here nor there. The point, the what that brings about is this thing of trust. When you buy something on Amazon, you are guaranteed almost 99.99% of the time what you see is what you're going to get.
It's not wish.
And when they say that you're going to get it within 2 days or 1 day or a week, you will get it.
That's the way.
That
it
prime
2 days
comes in
or
1
1 day.
hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of the vetting process that they do,
Yeah.
they're able to keep a tight knit on the millions of products that they have on there.
Yeah.
Therefore, when you go to Amazon, you're not worried like, is this a fake?
Yeah.
When you go on Jumia right now, and you just type in anything,
Generic.
yeah, everything is like generic, some random thing, and then they say, oh, it's globally shipped, like it
Yeah.
comes from abroad. There's a product I tried to order.
Yes.
I tried to order a product on Jumia just the other week, and they told me that it's in Kenya. And I didn't care if it was generic or fake or whatever.
Yeah.
I just needed this
Yeah,
product.
just like, give me the thing.
Yeah, and I needed it now, and I couldn't find it anywhere else. But they told me it's in Kenya.
Yeah.
So I clicked order. 1 day passes, order is not confirmed. So the thing passes, I realize I'm not gonna get this order. I tried to cancel it. They're like, you can't cancel it now.
It's past past like a
so you
certain
have to
number of
cancel it
hours.
when someone contacts you to deliver it. I'm like, that's fine. Little did I know that this product that they said is in Kenya, they don't have in stock. It was being shipped from China, and it was going to take 4 weeks. I needed it in 1. So like, when you have an experience
Amazon
like
could
that,
never.
yeah, exactly. When you-
Amazon could never.
when you have an experience like
Yeah,
that, it's
yeah,
like, why would I ever use you? I mean, even if it's cash on delivery,
Yeah.
you just don't need that headache.
No.
It's not worth it. It's not worth
No, actually,
click and order.
No, I've ordered things from the global, and I ordered it, and I forgot.
Yeah.
Genuinely. No, I actually forgot, and a random number called me, and it's like, I have your package, where are you? And I'm like, I'm halfway across town. Now, how do I get this sorted out?
And they're calling you like a month later.
Yeah. No, it was legit 6 weeks later for one item.
So I do think that's a problem. However, on the good note, I think they realized this.
Yeah.
So they exited, and I think their plan is they want to sell the infrastructure.
Yeah, they're going to clean
Amazon
it
is
up.
going to come to Africa.
Yeah.
This is without a doubt.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos needs world domination. Everyone
Lord
needs world
Bezos,
domination.
man.
Lord
Don't
Bezos
steal
is
your
coming.
Bezos is coming.
That
Watch
market
out.
market cap needs to go up.
Yeah, it needs to go up. I mean, he's growing like crazy right now, but at some point, growing outside is going to cap off a bit. A lot of regulatory challenges with like the EU and stuff. Then it's gonna be like Africa,
The
new-
final
new
frontier.
money, the final frontier, right? So when he comes, I think Jumia is going to try sell the delivery and warehousing infrastructure that
Yeah.
they've built.
Yeah.
Because it's no small task.
It
Africa
really
is very many countries.
Yeah.
And these countries, the way they're
There's
segmented,
nothing.
each one has
there's no structure that's there to follow.
there's no standard structure
Yeah,
for the
so-
entirety of Africa.
That investment of coming in.
I mean,
and
it is
doing
it is kind of being liberalized now with
Yeah.
the free trade agreement
That's
where
exactly-
they're trying to
that's true.
liberalize everyone's goods and services like to be traded across the continent, but it's still super nascent. And
Exactly.
what Jumia accomplished, that I think that's the biggest feat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just being able to even claim they can give you something when you order it online. That's a
Yeah,
that's a
that's a
just
lot.
just pass it with
just
no
that
postcodes.
claim in it.
Yeah,
that's
no-
that's huge. Even just getting people merchants who are like, I can actually sell on Jumia. Like,
Yeah.
that's an accomplishment.
That's huge.
Actually, so let me not lie though. Like, and I think that's what they're also changing is nowadays signing up on Jumia. I think they've like really cut down on it, and now they're trying to whittle down the herd of all this useless
Chinese
vendors
Chinese
and
stuff.
nonsense. Yeah,
Because I realized people are actually just posting products
that they
that they don't have, they don't sell, and then they're
Exactly.
just there's drop shipping through China
exactly.
on Jumia, which is not good.
Which
But
is-
now speaking of that, so now Jumia is like sort of like the sort of bad side of unwanted side of where a startup should be.
Yeah.
And then there's Twigger Foods, which is now like
The star child.
the
Golden boy.
golden boy, you know?
Yeah.
Or golden person, golden
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah,
Yes.
the comparison I was gonna make is that now you know that like 5 to 10% of addressable market that Jumia has. Twigger Foods is like 90%.
Yeah.
Twigger's food, like one, they weren't copy pasting like there's no Twigger Foods anywhere else that they were
That's
like let's
true.
do it. They were like you know, we see this market, we understand this market, we see the gaps within, you know, this value chains within this market, so let's just start solving it. So they started solving it, and the potential was stupid.
Yeah.
The potential isn't just, you know, Kenya. In fact, to be honest, I 1,000% still don't understand what Trigger Foods do. I think I know what they do. Like what they do seems to me so simple. I'm like, how is this innovative?
How
Exactly.
are they
It
the
seems
guys-
so simple. I'm
Exactly.
like, how is this innovative? But I guess those are the ones that are winners because
Yeah.
because the simplicity of it implies that, you know, everyone the simplicity of it assumes that anyone like getting on board with it and using it, and you know, the delivery mechanisms are also super transparent.
Yeah.
And that's one thing Jumia doesn't have: transparency.
Yeah.
So these guys are super transparent. Like
Yeah.
you can see what they're doing, you can see how they're doing it, you can see it's working, and you can see the scale. The scale is what boggles you, because right now they'll probably tell you like we're after 90% of this, you know, addressable market, but you know, even just getting 5% means that we're already going to be like the one of the most massive players in the industry, and they can take this and they can take it to other African countries, even
exactly.
other emerging market countries.
Oh, yeah.
No,
it's not just they can take it to, you know, countries in Latin South America. They can take it to Southeast Asia.
Yeah,
They can
Middle
take-
East.
It is something that
It's
is
a
quite
replicatable
interoperable
thing.
between a lot of fields. So I think the simplicity of it. Maybe you can tell us what they do. I'm not.
No,
like,
I also don't 100% know what they do, because you hear Trigger Foods and I know they're very successful at what they do. We all know that.
Yeah.
We've
But
seen those seed rounds, man.
Yeah, I do know that they basically connect the farmer and the merchants and the vendors.
So they're like they're in the supply chain.
Yeah, so they're
of
the link.
goods, of
Yeah.
agricultural goods between farmers
Yeah.
and the marketplace.
Yeah, and the way they did it is so, compared to how other people were doing it, the way they did it is like very, what do you call it, streamlined.
Yeah.
And
Full
whatever.
traceability.
Full traceability, everything.
transparency. Yeah, like
And-
you know where your tomato came from,
Yeah.
and you know that the person who grew this tomato and sold it to Twigger Foods was getting a decent part of the revenue.
Exactly.
And that's one thing I do think is why they're extremely successful is in farming, and we are all in Kenya. We're a farming country. But-
Agricultural.
Yeah,
We're an agricultural market.
Yeah, that's true. And when the issue with farming right now is, as much as you farm, it's very hard to make money off your produce. You can grow the best tomatoes, you can grow the best onions, whatever, but there's always that middleman who'll come and say, no, we're only buying this at 5 bob a kilo, some random nonsense. But actually moving and getting the farmer to get a higher percentage of the retail price is such a drastic change, because that gives that guy such a larger percentage of capital to work on his business and his farm. And instead of thinking, okay, next season, what am I planting? You're giving them the ability to think, okay, in 5 years, where's the farm going to be? And that now opens up the economy. Now they have money to spend on other things. They're now going to be buying insurance for their crop. They're now going to be buying newer tools and, you know, really keeping up. So I think that's where Twigger Foods has it on lock, is providing the actual farmer with the value that they deserve.
Yeah.
It gives you a certainty.
Yeah, I do think Trigger Foods is gonna feed the world. Or companies like Trigger
Twigger
Foods.
Foods, yes,
In the next
definitely.
10 years, in the next decade, it's gonna be Trigger Foods and companies like Trigger Foods
Yeah.
that are going to be
Yeah.
supplying, you know, the food supply chain and the food
Yeah.
market around the world. Because they started off, you know, with I think they started off with bananas, just supplying bananas and buying them from farmers, and expanded to others. And now they're even entering contract farming. So now they're telling people to
Grow
you
this.
grow this
and we'll buy
and we'll
everything.
buy everything. type thing, and
Yeah.
then you have assured market.
Yeah. So you don't worry.
To start farming.
Yeah, you're not worried about it.
And they're not even exporting it. I don't even think they've entered the export market yet.
The local market has barely been scratched.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
So
yeah.
once they enter the export market, just
Boom.
they just blow up.
Yeah.
So I do think Trigger Foods on the other end of the spectrum is like someone with
But they're also gonna face challenges. So
of course.
especially we know in agriculture in Kenya that a lot of the profiteering has been people importing goods that we can grow. We can grow ourselves.
Yeah.
So people have been importing, cereals and other agricultural crops that we can grow ourselves, right? And that's had a lot of damaging effects to our local economy.
Long term.
If like sugar industry, every other industry that was very domestic, very local, was
Exactly,
destroyed
yeah.
by exports. And the reason, there are just so many reasons why these exports come in. There are many reasons why the government's exporting this goods subsidize their own. So there's also some structural issues that Trigger will have to deal with in order to actually succeed as this global food vendor, this global food marketplace. But I think they're well on the right track. In vis-a-vis Jumia, to be honest, in their regard, they're both successful startups.
Yes.
But in terms of the actual impact they will have on people's lives and livelihoods, then you have Trigger at the very forefront.
Oh, 100%. Which is great.
Yeah.
I guess-
We're coming up on the hour mark.
So I guess that's it for us.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation, Mandem Kiiru.
Gracias,
You know,
pleasure to be here.
We call him Textbook Man. He knows.
Bro.
He has all the answers. Hit him up on all socials. Give them your
Bro,
Instagram.
slide in. Well, actually, if you're looking for business opportunities
DM.
and help, slide into his DMs. Otherwise, stay out of them.
Yeah.
No, pleasure being here, guys. Thanks for having me. Very intuitive conversation. Always amazing to speak to you guys. You guys have a very I'd say very entrepreneurial way of thinking about everything. Every problem can be solved, every issue can be resolved. It's just to what scale? How can we do it? So it's this a good conversation to have.
100%.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, man. And we hope to have you back soon.
Anytime, every day.
So I will just give out our socials. We're NeoPros on everything. neopros@gmail.com, NeoPros on Twitter and on Instagram. I will have to actually make a new Facebook. I'm sorry, Zuck. I've not been on that for a minute.
Yes, apologize to Lord Zuck.
But yeah, so just look out. We'll be back with another episode soon.
Yeah, we'll try to release every week. Again, NeoPros, which stands for Young Professional.
Yeah, NeoPros.
So the whole goal of this podcast is to provide young professionals with a platform to be able to speak what they're doing and also help them with ideas on how to better what they're doing as well. So we're geared solely to the young people that want to do something with their lives and are doing something with their lives, whether it's in business or fashion, anything.
Whatever. Yeah.
So it's not just focused on companies and stuff.
Yeah, so and any comments, any questions, any guests that you guys think we should bring on, we are ready and willing to hear everything you guys have to say.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. And
See you later.